Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 947. Directed by Chihiro Kumano from Akitaro Daichi's board and supervised by Ippei Masui. While outsourced episodes are absolutely needed for a stable and healthy production, especially after the episode we just had, but that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily looking forward to it all that much. The studio that Ippei Masui hails from, Magic Bus, has worked on the show before back in Eni's Lobby with episode 302, but the results weren't all that pretty, so it's likely not going to be all that much better here. Even with the fact that Chief Supervisor Keiichi Ichikawa will be correcting practically all the art to be clean and on model. Sure, there's a chance that it could end up surprising me with Akitaro Daichi's board always having the possibility of being on the better end of his storyboards, which could greatly help with what looks to be a newcomer director for Magic Bus with Kumano, but I'm certainly not going to be expecting anything major in terms of overall quality for this week's outing. At least this way, I'll end up being genuinely surprised and caught off guard if something ends up hitting the wall and sticking. So will episode 947 be nothing more than your average outsourced episode that allows the in-house talent more time for their next work? Let's let the Ryuo flow and find out. This episode covers the remaining pages of chapter 947 and the first 8 pages of chapter 948, and it might be the most basic in terms of faithfulness to the manga that you can get. I mean, sure, there's glimpses of stuff like Big Mom charging after Queen slowly before falling dead asleep, as well as there being some small extra Luffy action, and for some reason they reveal Kawamatsu's face outright before our next episode, which I'll touch on later, but outside of those small bits, it's practically the most standard that you can get in terms of bringing the manga to life, and it doesn't really hit home. Yeah, there's some instances where they try to make scenes like Babanuki ordering the jailers to attack Luffy feel more dramatic by having him give a whole speech and a half, but it doesn't really work for what the tone of the rest of the episode is, and ironically enough, it'd be more effective if they just went after him on command like they did in the manga. It all just falls flat by doing the bare minimum with only droplets of the added content that Wano's known for. And it doesn't really have that grandiose feeling that a jailbreak like this should have. Which on one hand I'm happy about because the content that's coming up from this plot thread is far more interesting and deserving of something better, but it doesn't make the execution of the content here a single lick better because of that. Akitaro Daichi's boards have been a bit all over the place depending on the type of content that he's given to work with. And just like his last Udon episode, this storyboard is a certified miss on almost every level. While the pacing control is a bit better this time around until we reach the second half where it slogs hard, all the cool and spacious layouts that one would expect from a huge prison mine like this are non-existent. Shots that should have a pretty good sense of scale or cool layouts at least just end up feeling flat and dull, as if it's just two pieces of paper overlaid on top of each other. The action feels stock, the only cool little bits that are pretty tame as far as Daichi goes are extremely short-lived, and I almost feel like he didn't get the memo as they for some reason reveal Kawamatsu's face towards the end of the episode, which feels extremely disjointed as he still remains shadowed in the very first shot of the next episode preview. All it does is serve to give this episode a really bland and overall unimaginative look that isn't at all what we've come to expect from Wano. And to top it all off, Kumano doesn't really do anything too interesting with it on the directorial side, which is made even worse thanks to a lesser composite since Studio Twinkle is taking on the brunt of the compositing here instead of Asahi. Thankfully, like expected, Ichikawa does clean up a good amount of the art here, even if there's a few stragglers out there in the wild in terms of Masui's corrections, but it doesn't really help this episode be any better than what it truly is. Of course, I wasn't expecting anything from this one due to it being outsourced into a ho-hum studio at that, so I'm not really upset nor surprised at the episode's quality because again, it's needed every now and then. But I still have to give my critique and analysis when it comes to it all, and 947 was a pretty dull and bad episode that I'm thankful was put on display here rather than later on, as the preview that I've been teasing throughout this whole video for episode 948 looks pretty damn great. Yutaka Nakashima looks to be firing on all cylinders again after just getting off of 946, with some crazy cool colors and promises of filler that involves Zoro and Hiyori. And we'll finally be getting a look at what Katsumi Ishizuka's been cooking up these past few months, with Kawamatsu's first display of power. With Shuichi Ito's corrections looking as polished as ever, I can't emphasize just how much I'm looking forward to getting back to in-house Toei staff next week for what should be another blast of an episode from Nakashima & Co. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and hey, at least it was better than episode 302.